So we are one day out from the undisputed fight between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk. And I just wanted to try out this new format to give you my thoughts on the fight and just a basic overview, really. Um, so I guess starting off, my interesting thoughts on the fight are that we have actually seen a way to beat both of these guys already, especially Usyk. Even though we've seen Tyson Fury have more vulnerable moments, I would argue we haven't exactly seen a definitive way to beat him. Whereas with Usyk, I would argue we've seen a way to beat him, in which is roughing him up, like we saw versus Derek Chisora, and at times versus Myris Braless. Um, Obviously, Tyson Fury has arguably had more rocky moments, notably versus Wilder, and in those earlier fights, say against um, Cunningham and Nathan Pajic. Um, but does that determine how the fights goes? I think it certainly helps for preparation on Fury's side, um, but I think Usyk's also got a lot to look at in the preparation. Um, we've just had the weigh-in, which was actually pretty interesting because Oleksandr Usyk, he came in around the 230 mark. I think it said he was around 233, which is heavier than I would expect him to be. But clearly, it's a concern for him the amount that Fury's going to look to hold and grab, because we have seen that be a factor in some of Usyk's fights. Um, and Fury came around in the 260s, which is, I'm pretty sure, the lowest we've seen him in a good while. He did look quite good on the scales. Both of them looked quite good on the scales. But I was surprised at how heavy Usyk came in to the weigh-in. Do I think that plays a factor in the fight? Um, Probably not. I, I I think that's probably their intention for them coming in at various weights. Fury wants cardio, and I assume that Usyk wants to be able to be bullied less. Um, as for a prediction, let's break it down some more before we go to prediction, because I think we need to consider the bigger picture. One thing we saw in the public workouts a few days back was Usyk was actually doing some shadow boxing in orthodox, which could probably play. Well, I wonder whether he's doing that to show Fury something, or whether he's doing that to show the fans something. Because one of the things that's been talked about in the fight a lot is Fury's ability to fight out both stances. So maybe that's Usyk's showing something to the fans and something to Fury. Um, it's been it was very heated at the weigh-in today, which is something that we never really saw from them both before until, well, since the fight had been rescheduled for this weekend. But yeah, they really kind of came up close. Fury pushed him, and he seemed to lose his temper in the interview. I feel like that had kind of went past the point of trying to sell the fight, and I think he's genuinely invested in us now. But I think what we have in both of the boxers is in Oleksandr Usyk, we have a guy who lives boxing and has the life of boxing. And the Tyson Fury has a guy who lives boxing but hasn't always lived the life. And they're getting on into their late 30s. So whether that'll play a factor, we just don't know. Um, I mean, we don't really have much to go off because neither of them looked particularly great in the last fight. Obviously, Usyk had the controversial fight with Dubois, where there was that shot that was very contentious, and people are still disagreeing on that now. And I don't particularly want to get into that as of now. And Fury obviously had that pretty atrocious showing by Ngannou. One of the things I was going to mention here, in fact, was that One of the key things a lot of people don't realize against Ngannou was Ngannou didn't let Fury clinch as much as he wanted to. Um, and that's quite a big factor in Fury's fights. He likes to be able to clinch you, and he likes to be able to lay on you, and he just wasn't able to do that against Francis Ngannou. Um, so I think he is going to have his way in the clinch at times versus Usyk. It's just whether Usyk's work rate is going to get the best out of him, and perhaps that's one of my concerns about Usyk going up in weight, whether he's going to be able to carry that work rate with the weight. But he is a very seasoned professional. I'm sure he knows what he's doing, and his team knows what he's doing, and there's a good reason behind coming in at the higher weight. Okay, so as for my prediction, I'm gonna say Fury by unanimous decision, but that's not a confident pick. But that is my pick. I've always said Fury throughout, but I think with a lot of people, as this fight has got closer, I have definitely my predictions became closer. And I've seen a lot of people are actually picking Usyk this week, which really quite surprised me. But as of now, I can see a path for Usyk to win, whereas I found it harder to see that path see a couple of months back. Um, One thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, before I finish it off, is in fact there was actually a layoff for when Fury was meant to fight Klitschko initially. There was a delay from that fight to when it actually happened, and Fury said that really benefits them. So I wonder whether that's going to have an impact in this fight, or whether that's just him trying to get into Usyk's head, because that's a big factor in every Fury fight. So you have to take everything he says with a pinch of salt. Um, but I think that sums up my thoughts on it, and I'm going to try and keep up this format because I do enjoy talking about boxing. I just wasn't sure how successful this format would be, and I hope you enjoyed the video.